Accounting invoices. This is where you can create, view, and manage your invoices. When you get started, the page will be empty. Invoices are grouped into new invoices, overdue invoices, recurring invoices, 3 months paid, 12 months paid, and over 12 months paid invoices. To create a new invoice, click on the Create button at the top here. A blank invoice will be created for you. The date created is automatically set to be the current date. If you want to change it, click on the Edit Date button. Pick the new date you want. Save the new date. The second step is to add new invoice line items. Press this button to add a new line item. You can either 1. Select a product or service from your existing products and services using this drop-down list here. Or 2. You can enter a new product or service from scratch. Note, if you choose to enter a new product or service that did not exist in your database, the new product or service will be added to your database automatically. Enter the quantity of products or services to be included. Save the form. Every invoice line item you create for this invoice will be listed here. Note that the currency has been pre-selected, based on the company settings set by the space owner when your Skhokho account was first created. Next step is to add a client to your invoice. Click on this button to add a client. You have 2 options for adding a client. 1. Select from the drop-down menu clients that already exist in your database, and 2. Enter a new client. In this case, we will enter a client that already exists by selecting from the list and submitting the form. This is the logo that will be shown on your invoice. If you would like to change it, use this button here. If this invoice belongs to a certain project, choose the project from list, then click this button to save. You can add a tax percentage for value-added tax or VAT to your invoice. Enter the percentage amount here. For example, enter 15 if the VAT percentage is 15%. Press this button to update the invoice. You will now see the tax amount calculated and a new total, which will include the original amount plus the VAT amount. Enter the title of the invoice here. Enter invoice due date. If this is a recurring invoice, tick this checkbox, then pick from this drop-down a date in which the system should send the invoice to the client. Enter a detailed description if necessary. This is optional. Enter additional notes here, such as bank account details or payment terms. Press this button to save the invoice. Press this button to view the invoice in PDF. This is the document that you can now download and email to your client. You can also email the invoice directly from our software by pressing this button here. You can confirm the client email address at the top of the invoice. This is the address the invoice will be emailed to. Press this button to email the invoice. Navigate back to the invoice list page using the breadcrumb navigation at the top of the page. You can see a summary of your invoice details here. If you press on the action column, you can do the following. 1. View the invoice. 2. Set the invoice to overdue. 3. Set the invoice to paid. 4. Duplicate the invoice, and 5. Delete invoice. To upload a CSV with invoices, click here. Read these instructions carefully before you proceed. Click here to download an invoice spreadsheet template to edit. The spreadsheet will look like this. Here you can add your own records of invoices. 6 things to remember when editing the template. 1. Minimum required columns. You need to provide at least the title, product, price, quantity of the invoice. You can leave other columns blank, but do not delete them. 2. For currency, make sure it is numbers only. For decimals, enter them like 1234.56. 3. For the paid column, enter yes or no, or it will default to unpaid. 4. The date format should be DDMMYYYY, exactly, or this column will be ignored and today's date will be used instead. 5. Do not change the headings, order of columns or delete any columns from the example spreadsheet or the upload will fail. 6. Note new client/product records will be created for clients/products in the invoice. If a client/product already exists, make sure you use exact title. When you are done adding your data, export the spreadsheet to CSV. Now let us go back to Skhokho. Click here to attach the CSV file. Upload the file. Each invoice will be displayed under one of these tabs, depending on the invoice status. From this page, you can also filter invoices. To do so, click here. Select a date range for the invoices you want to see. Click this button to filter. This is a list of invoices that falls within the dates we use to filter our table.